Hey, true crime fanatics, this is Claire.
And I'm Andy.
You're tuned in to the Homicide Hobbies podcast, which is a podcast for people who love to hear about the horrendous crimes that people commit. Enjoy.
Happy Valentine's Day week. We bring you this really fucked up case.
We sure do.
Have a happy Halloween. Have a happy Valentine's Day.
Well, I don't know. I guess you could do Valentine's Day and wear masks. Whatever you want to do, Andrew, you do you. Just warn Jason, because I feel like that could make the night turn real scary for him.
I'll wear a scream mask and just pop out of a corner somewhere. Hi!
No physical violence to your loved ones or non-loved ones. Don't go out there and pick a stranger to do it to. Just be nice.
No physical violence or emotional abuse or any type of assault of any kind.
Consented. So what piece of shit are we talking about? The son bitch. A murdering piece of trash are we talking about?
So today we're going to talk about a teenager who kills his mother and his little brother.
Is it about influenza?
Do what?
You know, that was like a new thing, like affluenza, as if it's a disease, but it's just spoiled little piece of shit brat that didn't get its way, so he decided to kill his parents.
Oh, I thought you were done referencing the fact that my voice sounds a little different. I thought you said influenza. And I was like, I do not have the flu. I got me a scratchy throat for some reason. Could be one of them there 6 kids that brought some cooties home to me.
I'm pretty sure I did say influenza the first time, but I meant affluenza, so your eardrums were working perfect.
Yeah, turns out them's are working okay. Anyway, so because I like the triggers, I'm going to go ahead and forewarn everyone.
I like surprises.
We do have the death of a 6-year-old, and it is brutal. There is the death of his mother, and we're going to touch on a bit of racism. So this case happens in Fauquier County, Virginia, and is a very current case. So current that our murderer has not yet been sentenced.
So much so that that murderer went to school with your boy.
Yes, I was going to get to that.
I done spoiled it.
You sure did. So I'm going to tell you a story about a young family. We've got Joshua Norwood. He was married to his wife, Jennifer, for 18 years, and they shared 2 children together, 17-year-old Leviathan and 6-year-old Wyatt.
Can we say it different? Because when you say they shared children, I'm thinking of the other episode where they ate the children, and it sounds like they're partaking in some child buffet.
Okay, well, they had 2 children together. Is that better?
Uh-huh.
Okay. And as I have written here, spoiler, my oldest son, knew Levi. Now, we're going to talk about Joshua and Jennifer for a second. Joshua and Jennifer both lived in Maine, and Joshua worked at a pet store, and Jennifer, her maiden last name was Overlock. And she came into the pet store one day and was asking about ferrets, which Joshua liked the fact that she was a pretty girl and was asking about an irregular pet. So that piqued his interest. He said that he prefers snakes over ferrets, but he really liked her. So she was 15 and he was also a teenager. I think he was like 16. They're relatively close in age.
And his mom?
Yeah. So when they were teenagers. So they just met. They're 15, 16. And soon after they first met at the pet store, they started dating. About a year later, in 2002, Jen was 16 and Joshua was 17. He proposed at a Pantera concert, and they were married with parental consent the same year. So 16 and 17, and they were married. That's so young. And a few months later, Jennifer gave birth to their first son, Levi. They decided to go with a strong name that was unique for their firstborn son. So they decided to name their son after their favorite pet, a large snake called Leviathan.
Okay. So how long after when they were married did Leviathan come about?
Within the first year that they were married. So I'm guessing they got married because she was pregnant, but I don't know that for sure.
Okay. Yeah, that's what it sounded like, but I wasn't sure if you had dates.
I'm not sure. So we're going to call Leviathan Levi for short. When Levi was around 6 years old, the family of 3 moved to Virginia so that Joshua could manage a reptile shop. When Levi was around 11, Jennifer gave birth to the couple's second son, who they named Wyatt. The family of 4 lived in the quiet county of Fauquier, Virginia, and Levi was taught to fish and hunt by his father, and he was also taught how to shoot a gun, and he was a really good shot. Joshua would also take their son to the local gun range to practice shooting. Now, my son met Levi in elementary school. They were in first grade, and I remember my son coming home talking about how Levi wanted him to come over, and his dad wanted to take both of our kids hunting. Now, my son was 6, and while I'm not anti-gun, I don't know. I didn't know his parents, and I didn't feel comfortable with my 6-year-old going shooting and hunting with people I don't
Yeah.
know. It seems very young to me to have a 6-year-old
Hunting.
using a weapon.
Well, I think that's also we didn't do that. I know I had friends that they would go hunting with their parents or their dad or their uncle, whatever.
Yeah. He was my first baby, and I was overly protective, and I didn't know his dad, and I don't know what kind of values they have, and I feel like a gun is a very dangerous thing, and I don't know what kind of gun safety they use, so
Well,
I erred on the side of caution and went with a no.
not that I go hunting, but I wouldn't want to take 6-year-olds hunting anyway because I feel like you'd have to do a lot of shh, shh.
Or how about don't point that at anybody?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Unless it was bow season.
No, because I asked that. Are they shooting with a bow and arrow? Because I feel like that's really just going and playing in the woods. But unless it's a compound bow, of course. But no, Levi, it was a handgun or a rifle, whatever. I don't know what they were using.
I
It was a
don't think
gun,
you hunt with a handgun.
whatever.
That's going out to hunt a person.
I
Not
done
even
said
really hunting. That's like the mafia shit of you're going out with a handgun, take somebody to the woods, going for a little bit of a hike. No, you don't hunt with a handgun, Andrea.
Okay, so I said I don't know nothing about guns. I ain't a doctor.
What? It's pig in the barn.
Anyway, how's that wine going there, Claire?
Oh, doggone. It's done started filtering out my liver.
Okay. So when the boys were in around 3rd grade, Levi's family moved, and my son didn't see Levi again until middle school. And in elementary school and middle school, from what as I asked my son about him, he was known to be quiet and friendly with his friends, but he would also tell people throughout his entire childhood years that his parents were racist.
Mm-hmm.
So Jennifer Norwood, she loved being a mom, and it said that she was very protective of her boys. Now, it is said that Joshua was a white supremacist. Levi would tell his friends that his family was not welcoming towards anyone who was not white. So when he had friends that were not white, he was not allowed to have them over. But Levi was friends and accepting of everyone, as it should be.
Yeah.
A relative of the family said that Joshua and Jennifer were, in fact, very prejudiced, and as much as they hate to admit it, they both really did prefer whites over any other race. And I'm sorry, but I find that a completely disgusting way to raise children.
I'm going to assume these are our victims.
Yes. So when Levi was 3, his parents would let him walk around using the N-word all the time.
Oh, shit. How often were they using that he was even aware that it was a word?
Apparently quite frequent. And Joshua Norwood, his Facebook page covered quotes from David Lane.
You know, quote, I would say I'd hate to say it, but they also learned that somewhere also. So grandparents can't be too better. Too much better? Yeah, like
David Lane, racist. He had Joshua Norwood had a quote on his Facebook page that said, now, again, this is a quote. This is not me, nor is it anything that Claire, myself, or Homicide Hobbies condones.
Who else is on Homicide Hobbies other than me and you?
I don't know.
Them some bitches hacked us then.
So the quote is, "We must secure the existence of our race and the future for white children."
What year was this?
This was on his Facebook page before he ends up dead.
So
So
2020?
now,
He's not being murdered
2020.
right this second.
So it's 2020. It's current enough to where it's not the 1930s, not the 1940s. This shit is unacceptable.
I understand that. I was just trying to understand when he posted it is all.
Southern Poverty Law Center describes the quote by David Lane as the best known slogan of the U.S. white supremacist movement.
What?
Yeah. I don't know.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
I didn't either.
There's a movement?
Yeah.
I don't feel like they've moved a whole lot. Sounds like they're still in the past.
Sounds like they are. The founder of the group, by the way, the founder of the group, the white supremacist group, died in prison after being convicted of killing a Jewish radio host in 1984.
Sounds like he deserved what he got.
When later on, once Levi commits his crimes, Joshua Norwood's confronted about his Facebook post, and he said he didn't remember why he even put that up, but said he was maybe just having a bad day.
Wait, whoa. His dad had put that up?
Yeah.
Okay, because I thought you were saying the son at first.
No. The son was accepting of all people. Dad and mom are racist.
Gotcha.
Or were.
So somebody confronted him about that, and he said he was having a bad day?
Yeah, he's like, I don't remember why I posted that up. I was probably just having a bad day.
I've never posted anything remotely like that. No matter the day.
No. I'm sorry. That's not an excuse. But on February 9th, 2020, it was a Sunday, Joshua took his son Levi driving to Richmond, which from Fauquier to Richmond, it's a 2-hour drive, because he was helping his son get the hours that he needed so that he could get his driver's license.
So he drove to Richmond?
I guess maybe they needed to go do something down there for the reptile.
That's some weird shit. That sounds like some white supremacy meetings.
Right?
Richmond.
I didn't even, yeah.
But no, because plenty of people get their driver's license and permits and such, and they don't take just a random 2-hour drive south. I'm not believing it at all.
Well, the only thing I can think of, not to make excuses here, but my son was late getting his learners and getting his hours in.
So you two took a trip to Richmond?
Well, we went north, but yes, we went on a random road trip just so we could get hours in. And it wasn't me, it was Jason with him, because
must have been when gas was cheap.
It was.
When the rest of them children get to driving, you can send them on south and I can have me a chauffeur.
Sure, we can do that. On Friday, February 14th, 2020, so Valentine's Day, that morning, Jen texted her husband and said that the two boys were doing great and were sitting on the couch laughing and waiting for their school buses.
But does she usually text how they're doing?
So apparently, at some point during that week, Levi had gotten into an argument with his parents and they were having a bit of teen difficulties. We will discuss it here shortly.
He's 17?
He's 17. And then the little boy is 6.
I feel like if you have easy, terrible 2s, you have the devilish teen years.
Yeah, that fits. Spoiler for those that don't know, me and my husband, we done got 6 kids. And my oldest...
your hobbies then.
Anyway.
Sorry.
Anyway.
Cue the Adam and Eve promotional ad there that we've done.
So my oldest was an angel when he was 2 and love him to pieces, but he can be mouthy.
And can smell too.
Yeah, it's so gross. But
gross.
The next one, he's 17 and he was that in between. He had some difficult days, but he wasn't a terror. And he's kind of the same now. Like, he's not a terror now, but he's got his days where he makes me want to slam my head into a wall because he just wants to argue with me about
Well,
nothing.
better yours than his than yours. Yours than his.
Mine and
Sounded
his,
better
yeah.
in my head, yeah. But if
And
you're gonna
then
slam a head, may it be yours rather
the
than you slamming his.
14-year-old, he was an awful, awful, awful child. Like, I kid you not, when I would try to teach him ABCs, he would scream stop and plug his ears and throw a fit. I have videos of it. And
Could
he
be
is
your
the
singing though. Maybe he hears in perfect pitch.
so when he was in daycare or preschool, he wouldn't learn with, like, when they would try to teach it, he would do the same thing at school. So he was a terror.
Could be tone deaf.
Okay, well, I'm just saying he was a terror, and now he is the sweetest, most helpful, happy. Like, he's such a good boy. So yeah, it fits. Getting all sidetracked here. The rest of my
Settle
kids aren't
down,
teenagers, so
lady.
I can't compare.
I know. That's what I was
Anyway,
saying.
so the morning of Valentine's Day, the boys were just sitting on the couch waiting for their buses. Throughout the day, Jen and Joshua had been texting each other about how they didn't like Levi's girlfriend, and they felt that she was too much of a bad influence on Levi.
What does he do for work?
I don't know what he's currently doing. I know he moved to Virginia to take care of a reptile shop.
I thought he's dead.
Okay, well, when I say current, I mean in this point in time, you
Yeah,
asshole.
he's doing the reptile shop.
That brings us to 6 p.m. on Valentine's Day. Joshua was coming home with gifts and flowers for his family for Valentine's Day. And little did Joshua know, he was going to find his youngest son curled up on the couch, murdered by his big brother. Joshua said he walked in the door and he saw a pile of blankets on the floor and he kicked at it because, that's the male thing to do, because he didn't realize what was under it. And then when he felt it was hard underneath, he picked up the blanket, and as he pulled the blanket back, he found his 34-year-old wife, Jennifer, face down in a pool of blood.
God.
Horrified, he ran over and looked under the other pile of blankets on the love seat, and it was the crumpled body of his 6-year-old son, Wyatt. He said Wyatt's brains were on his knee.
Oh my God. Like the boy's knee, or he knelt down and...
No, like his brains had spilled out onto the little boy's lap. Horrified at what he found, he then realized there was no sign of his oldest son, Levi, and with his adrenaline pumping at the sight of his wife and his son brutally murdered, Joshua was in shock. Yeah, he was in shock. And then he heard another gunshot coming from the basement.
Another?
When Joshua realized the bullets were headed at him, one tore through the basement door and struck Joshua in the forehead, and blood started pouring down his face.
What the fuck?
He tore out of the house and ran. To Joshua's horror, he soon realized that the shooter was his 17-year-old son, Levi.
How did he know? He saw him, or
I don't know. So when I first heard the story broke out, like when this was currently going on, like that night, I didn't believe that Levi would do this. Yeah, I didn't. I really didn't. I thought, how does he know it's his son if he didn't see
the shooter?
The shooter. Like, how do you know that? How can you say it was your son? How do you know your son's not dead someplace else in the house and it was an intruder? Like, I didn't get it. But spoiler, Levi admits to all of it. So he did do it. So Joshua had no choice but to abandon the corpses of his wife and his young son, and he ran from their home for safety. Now, because he dropped his bags, he did not have his phone. His phone was in the house. So Joshua ran down the road and flagged down a car that was driving by and borrowed their phone to call 911.
So should I assume he was nicked by a bullet rather than he was shot?
He was shot.
In the forehead?
In the face, yes.
What the hell?
So Josh, and don't ask me about what kind of gun. I don't know these kinds of things. It was a gun. You put a bullet in, you pull the trigger, it goes boom, it causes major boo-boos and sometimes death. But Joshua began screaming that no, this isn't real.
I can't
Soon, but
even
not,
imagine.
no, it's absolutely awful. Soon, but not soon enough, the authorities arrived to the home and Joshua was rushed to the hospital. Police surround the home because they thought that Levi had barricaded himself inside the family's house. So since police were uncertain where the 17-year-old was, they spent hours outside securing the house and trying to
Mhm.
communicate with Levi inside the home. It was a little after 10 p.m. when they decided to enter the house, and they saw that once they secured each room, they saw that Levi had in fact fled the residence. So then they bring in the crime scene investigators and they start processing the crime scene, and they do confirm that Jennifer and Wyatt were the victims of the house. And it's noted that Jennifer had been fatally shot in the head and also had what was determined to later be claw strikes from a hammer on the side of her head. And Wyatt's head was completely caved in on the right side, and portions of his brains were scattered over his body and also all over the couch. It was later determined that Wyatt had been shot in the head, but the shot was not fatal because the bullet did not enter his skull.
Oh
And
my God.
also, he ended up being repeatedly struck in the head with a hammer, approximately 4 fatal strikes with the hammer and 3 fatal strikes with the claw side of the hammer to crush the little boy's skull. It's disgusting.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here like that poor, and it's his big brother.
It's his big brother. So the police, they issue a manhunt for the 17-year-old who's now on foot in the cold hours on the evening of Valentine's Day. The manhunt had helicopters flying around the area, dogs searching for the boy's smell, and police going door to door. On a personal note, I remember getting a text message from a friend who saw this flash on the news because I think Jason and I were watching a movie or something. And when we heard about Levi fleeing police and having killed his mother and his little brother and shot his dad in the head, I was like, there's no way. There's no way. And they live right up the street from us, which is crazy.
I thought you were
But
gonna say when you said you got a text message, I was like, this is a turn of events I wasn't prepared for.
no, none of that. But the 17-year-old was running from police, and I told my son about what happened, and he said there's no way. He too didn't think that it was possible for Levi to commit such a crime. He's like, there's no way. He's like, I know they say don't trust the quiet ones, but he was the quiet kid that was friendly with anybody. And my son, when they started going to high school together, he got bullied a lot. So we pulled him out of that school and put him at another school where we absolutely loved the teachers. And so that kind of ended their
Friendship.
communication at that point because my son didn't have a cell phone. So they kind of lost contact with each other. But it blows my mind that somebody that my son was friends with, and when my kid was getting bullied, Levi was the one that was like there to make him feel better. So it's crazy. But Levi was on the run, and they said they thought that they would be able to capture him fairly easily because Levi at the time had dyed his hair purple. So he had short hair, but it was purple. So I feel like that's definitely going to be a standout feature. The police advised the residents to shelter in place while they continued to search for Levi. Everyone in the area was told to secure their homes and verify that their vehicles were all secure, because those that aren't familiar with this area, fairly certain a lot of people are not, there's a lot of woods and lots of farmland, and a lot of people leave their doors and their cars unlocked. This kind of stuff just doesn't happen out here. So I guess we can't say that anymore, but bloodhounds tracked Levi from his home on Elk Run Road in Midland, Virginia, through the night into Saturday morning near the area of Crockett Park off of Route 28. So if you pull that up on a map, by road, it's 10 miles. It's woods and
From
fences
his
and trees.
house? Or he
Yeah.
walked 10 miles?
Uh-huh.
He
On a
wasn't a fat little boy, huh?
He was not. I mean, he goes hunting and stuff, so he's not a stranger to being outside, but I don't feel like he was dressed appropriately to be outside on a February night.
Was he wearing
The
his
next
panties?
The next morning, a resident woke to find their vehicle had been stolen. He contacted police, and since police know that he's on the run, that gave him an idea of which
Dude, I would
direction.
be so pissed if I got up to go to work and be like, my car is gone.
Uh-huh.
The fuck?
But at least police knew he was no longer in the area, and they knew what
How
vehicle
is
he had
that?
stolen.
How is that comforting? Don't worry, everybody. He's done left these parts. He's somebody else's problem now. You can
So
go
they didn't
ahead
know
and
if he
unlock your doors and leave your keys in your vehicle now.
had already stole somebody's car, but at least they knew what vehicle he had stolen, so they knew at least what to look out for. And it was a 2007 red Toyota Camry,
To
but
compliment his purple hair.
sure did. Police were pretty confident in being able to catch Levi because of said purple hair. As of 1 p.m. on Saturday, the authorities were still advising local residents to shelter in place and keep their homes and vehicles secure. I remember them saying, like, we're pretty sure he's not in the area, because they also didn't know whether or not he was still armed.
Go about your dinner parties. He's done left the county.
Sure enough, Levi was captured by Saturday evening in a sporting goods section of a Target in Durham, North Carolina. You know why he was captured? Because he was stealing.
Well,
He was
he had an
attempting.
empty jail wallet.
I'm sure it's full now.
Ew.
For those that don't know, a jail wallet is a butthole.
And a prison purse. Never mind.
Is the girl parts a vagina? Anyway, thanks for that, Claire. You sure have been snorty this episode.
It's winter. I still be congested.
It's the wine you drink. She's cleaning out her fridge. Oh, anyway, damn it, Claire. Levi was stealing hair dye, clothes, and a book bag.
Why didn't he just shave his head?
He still would have had to steal the clippers and need electricity.
Maybe. Or a razor. That would have been easier to smuggle out.
He's a boy. He ain't that smart.
Hair dye?
Yeah, you could do that in a bathroom in like a gas station. When store security stopped him, he was not armed. The gun, he did have a weapon in the Toyota Camry. So when he is out running around through the woods, he did in fact have a weapon on him. By Tuesday, Levi was transported back to Virginia and charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder.
He wasn't charged with trying to kill his dad?
Hang on. Levi remained in a juvenile detention center while authorities decided whether or not they were going to charge him as an adult. I found this interesting. In Virginia, any juvenile over the age of 14 and charged with first-degree murder will automatically be transferred from juvenile court for a preliminary hearing and tried as an adult. However, they are not eligible for the death penalty. So even though they're charged as an adult, they cannot get a death penalty charge.
I don't understand that because, let's face it, he's taken a hammer to a sibling and his mother, or either one, even if it was just one or the other. That why do we want to keep him alive longer?
I don't know. But apparently in 2005, the Supreme Court abolished the death penalty for juveniles in Virginia. While Levi was in custody in Durham, North Carolina, he noticed that the room that he was being held in had cameras. So he started speaking directly to the camera without anyone in the room or questioning him. And he's given himself a little monologue of all the stuff that he had gone and done.
That sure did help detectives. They could take a rest.
Sure did.
That boy has watched too many reality TV shows is what happened there. It's like, here's my moment.
With his little monologue, he ends up making some disgusting comments in regards to murdering his brother and his mother.
Like?
Part of his monologue while in the North Carolina interrogation room, he made a comment about how when he shot his 6-year-old brother Wyatt in the head, he started making whimpering and whining sounds that Levi felt were very annoying. So after he shot him in the head, he said that he, quote, beat his head in with a hammer because I couldn't stand to listen to it anymore.
The poor baby.
So, ugh.
I don't even understand how you do that to your little brother. That just the morning prior, they were giggling together.
Yeah, that same morning, they were snuggling on the couch.
I would be glad that your child was no longer pals.
Right? So glad I transferred him out of that school. He also said, and I apologize for these details because I'm not going to lie, they did make my stomach turn. Levi then told the details of as he beat his little brother's head in with the hammer, his eyes popped out of his skull. And so he picked them up and popped them back into the little boy's head.
I don't even know what to say other than I'm glad he was dead for that. But I don't understand what happened. They went from giggling on the couch to he's in a murderous rage.
Mm-hmm. Well, he went to school. The boys went to school. And then when he got home from school, he kills his mom and his brother. And then he waited for his dad.
Why?
We'll get there.
Talk faster.
He also said that he was excited for his dad to come home for Valentine's Day with the presents because Wyatt was no longer going to get to enjoy presents.
What?
Okay, so Wyatt was excited about their dad coming home with Valentine's Day presents, and Levi was laughing at now Wyatt won't get to enjoy any presents ever again.
Why is that funny?
Because the kid's a sick, twisted motherfucker. And then this sick little turd also makes the comments during his stupid little monologue that his mother was, quote, a good mother that took good care of him and his little brother, and he rewarded her by shooting her in the face, and that he killed her because she wanted to take his girlfriend away from him.
Is there a history? I realize you said they were white supremacist parents, people, which obviously not the most quality individuals, but was he at least being abused or had some excuse better than they didn't like my girlfriend?
Nope.
What did the little boy do?
Apparently the little boy could do no wrong. Not to compare it to our younger sister, but you know how like when you get in trouble for something, the younger one's like, I didn't do that, Mom. You know what I mean? Like,
that was a good impression of our younger sibling as a child.
Do you know what I'm talking about, though?
Yam chewing and he nailed it.
But do you know what I'm talking about? Like when you have a younger sibling that just goes out of their way to try to help make you look bad when your parents are already mad at you.
He was the youngest and could do no wrong.
Well, so if they're mad at Levi because he has a girlfriend who is black. And
you didn't say that before.
I didn't get a chance to, because I was about to say they didn't like his girlfriend because she was black. They claim it wasn't because she was black, that it was because she was a bad influence, but she was not a bad girl. She was just not of the race they preferred, which also can dick move by the parents. Levi also said that after he covered the bodies of his mom and his little brother, that he waited in the basement for his father to get home from work. He was intent on killing his father and was excited because he wanted him dead the most.
We're sure he didn't suffer a head injury.
Levi then described the next events that took place with his father. He said that he heard his father coming through the front door, so he hid behind the basement door and shot at his dad. When he hit his dad in the head with the bullet and he didn't fall to the ground, Levi then took off down the basement stairs and exited through a smashed window. He then apparently ran through the woods and hid in a nearby church, and then stole a car from a home and drove to North Carolina, where he was arrested at a Target, which we already knew all that. This little turd was also recorded saying that he had been hearing voices in his head for a long time, but the voices were not violent, nor did they tell him to kill his parents, and that he couldn't wait to fuck with the psychologists. He's recorded saying that. And also that he planned to plead insanity. I feel like if you're telling security, like if you're looking at the cameras,
just talking about, no, I'm just gonna say register. I'm gonna plead. I'm insane. Why tweeze my eyebrow hairs or eyelashes, whatever.
Okay.
I was gonna say brow hairs.
So 9 days later, when he was being driven back to Virginia, Levi tried to recant his entire confession and claimed that the statements that he made while sitting in the North Carolina interrogation room, that he had blacked out during the murders and could not remember any details or anything that happened.
Then how does he remember he said it?
I don't know, but the officers that were transporting him reminded him that the entire monologue was recorded. And then this kid's like, oh, huh, shit. Well, yeah, I do remember that then. When authorities later asked him why he used a hammer on his brother and his mother instead of just shooting them again, Levi said he wanted to conserve his ammunition for his father. He also said that he was expecting his father to drop and die, and when that didn't happen and he had to flee because there was a glitch in his plan, he was upset because he originally planned to kill his dad, take whatever money he could find off of his parents, steal their vehicle, go pick up his girlfriend from Peoples where she worked, and then they could go ride out and start a new life together somewhere. According to Levi's friends, Levi was in a relationship with a girl who his parents disapproved of because she was Black. They were adamant about not wanting their son to have anything to do with her. When confronted about these comments that Levi's friends were saying, it was all motivated by the parents not liking his Black girlfriend. Joshua said that race had nothing to do with it, and it was because this girl had a few issues and she was working through some stuff, and that she would bring Levi down and that they would make each other behave worse. He also said that his son's grade had begun to suffer once they started dating. He followed that up with saying that him and his wife caught their son Levi in a lie, and they had taken away his cell phone that week because Levi said he was staying after school for studying, when in all actuality, he was off with his girlfriend. But at the same time, I feel like I don't know, if there's really nothing wrong with this girl, I'm torn because as a parent, I do understand that there are bad influences. But if this is strictly because they did not like the color of this girl's skin, I feel like they were forcing this kid's hand to try to sneak around and spend time with his girlfriend. Now,
I was
granted,
gonna say, I was thinking the hammering and the shooting. I don't feel like that was a forced
no,
hand. But you know what? I feel like every teenager, the parents don't like their significant other.
I like my son's girlfriend.
He's also graduated high school. You don't know who he was diddling, although the deodorant could have helped to keep him at bay. Or
For the
lack
lack
of.
thereof.
Turns out, just don't buy him some of that, and there will be a natural barrier to prevent the ladies from flocking.
Okay, so while at school on the day of the murder, Levi told his girlfriend that his parents had emancipated him and that he was getting kicked out of the house because they were upset with him for skipping his math tutoring lessons and going and seeing her instead.
Wait, what? You can't emancipate your child.
Well, that's what he told his girlfriend. And then
like, he could emancipate from his parents. They can't be like, Alakazam, you're emancipated. Here, sign here and here. That'll teach you for not studying your math.
I mean, this is also the same kid that confessed monologue to a recording device and then tried to say, I don't remember that.
You know what, though? There's a lot of people who have those moments of they just decide to talk to themselves into the camera. Like, I don't know. It's weird. That's all I got to say about that.
Okay, Forrest. So apparently, Levi also told his girlfriend that he was going to go away for a while and that he promised he would come back to get her.
Yeah.
And
She's alive.
and she was concerned when he didn't show up at her work on the night of the 14th like he had promised to do. So Joshua Norwood had not been back to his family's home since the shooting. Surprise, he survived the bullet wound to the head and was released the same day. I guess
It must have been a small caliber.
Yeah. That's what I done figured. You done taught me about some bullets enough that I figured it was one of them there little 22.
There you go. One of the tiny ones.
Yeah. Joshua Norwood said every day he's going to wake up for the rest of his life and look in the mirror and see the scar down his face and his head and the memory of the first day of his life when his family was taken away by his son, who, by the way, he no longer referred to as his son.
I wouldn't either. I can't even imagine coming home being all excited to give my spouse a present and my children of just, and then come home. Not that I would kick a blanket like a lazy sack of shit and not pick it up, but and then peel it back to see the blood splatter and the brains everywhere. And then I can only imagine that little boy on the couch. You can't unsee that.
No. And I'm
And
sad to say,
I can also say I wouldn't be having any more children after that, because the way I would see it is devil spawn, devil spawn, devil spawn. No, no.
but I am sad to say that 2 months later, Joshua Norwood committed suicide.
I don't blame him. I wouldn't be able to unsee it.
Well, also, I feel like it was really sad because not only did he have to go through seeing all of that and dealing with the fact that his oldest son tried to murder him also, but now you can look it up. There's so many people that gave him hate, which
Oh, for being a racist or a white
yeah,
supremacist, however you want to
yes.
slice it. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's already dealing with all this loss and violence, and now he's dealing with people sending him hate mail and death threats and all this yuck because I hate to say this, but he did put a lot of racist stuff on his Facebook page. And if that's I feel like if you're not racist, then you shouldn't be posting stuff like that. And if you are racist, you can't backpedal on that. Once you put it
Well,
out there,
hold
it is
up.
out there.
Hold up. If you post shit that's racist, you are indeed racist yourself because you're perpetuating that bullshit.
That hate, yeah.
So
Yeah, you can't
there's
backpedal on that.
yeah, there's no way to slice it. But even though, like, I get in locally, this was real big in the news. I never heard of this case. He could have relocated, and since he likes the whole white supremacy thing, there are parts of the United States that are still clinging to that level.
Yeah, we don't need to add to that.
I'm
So,
not saying we do, but he didn't need to take his own life either. But I can understand that when all like your person is taken in a violent way
yeah.
and you saw it, I don't even the trauma. I don't know how he would have gone forth for that, but he robbed himself of an opportunity to correct the error of his ways.
Yeah. On Monday, August 22nd, 2022, Levi Norwood entered a plea of guilty for 2 murder charges, one for his mother and the second for his 6-year-old brother Wyatt. Along with the plea agreement, he entered in a document outlining the events before, during, and after the murders, and it provided everyone with the details of what happened on the day of the murders. But along with the plea agreement, the prosecutors agreed to drop several of the lesser charges, like the stealing of the vehicle, and also dropping the 1 count of attempted murder for shooting his father in the head. Levi has not yet been sentenced, but he is facing life in prison plus 40 years. On Levi's Facebook page, he showed an interest in the military, and he had the words, "Home of the free because of the brave," which I do agree with that.
Yeah.
And then he also had posted in 2016, so it had been about 4 years. He posted the trailer for the movie The Purge, and he also wrote, "I hate babies." Okay, so if Wyatt was 6 in 2020, that means that he was like 1.5, 2. So I'm guessing maybe he was a whiny baby. Like he was just
1.5, 2. I think we've all been there.
yeah, but he posted, "I hate babies," just "I hate babies" with no explanation, no nothing.
Was it in the
And
wee hours of the morning?
I'm not sure. And then like a couple weeks later or a few days later, I'm sorry, he posted again, "I hate babies" with no explanation.
You know what
So,
though? It like for fatigued moms out there, like they've all thought it
well,
at some point or another of just like nobody likes a crying baby.
yeah. And then he also posted a meme that read Cinco de Mayo. It showed a jar of
mayo better than Miracle Whips.
it showed a jar of mayonnaise in a sink.
Oh,
And then he also had another meme that supported veterans saying, quote, "A naked girl can get 799 likes in 6 minutes. Let's see how many our veterans can get. And that's it. But that is the case of Levi Norwood. And I wish that they would have had him actually explain, other than his parents were trying to take away his girlfriend. And what's really frustrating for me as a parent is he was about to be 18. If he really hated his life that much,
Yeah,
he
he
could
could
have
move
moved
out.
out. And I realized as a kid, waiting a whole year or whenever, however
Sounds
long he
like,
had to
yeah,
wait,
feels like
it's really
forever.
yeah, but it's really not that long. And now he's going to spend the rest of his life plus 40 years in prison.
He's gonna figure out how long a year is.
Yeah.
40 plus. Which, by the way, watched a documentary, realized this sounds, or not really so much about Levi at all, but in Italy, life in prison is not life in prison. I don't understand the name. I don't understand that life in prison to me is life in prison, not you do 20 years, you get out on parole. What the fuck is the point of calling it life in prison? Just say 20 years then.
Because realistically, if you go to prison for 20 years, your life is fucked. Because there's not, unless you're an entrepreneur when you get out, there aren't very many people that are going to, your life is screwed. We're
Well,
just not
what's the
paying for
point
it.
of getting out? That seems like more of a punishment.
I don't know. I found a case though where I'm gonna end up having to do this case next because I'm gonna sit here and talk about it. But the guy was given life in prison, but got out after 12 years and then goes
Practically
on
the
and kills a bunch
same.
of people. He was given a life in prison sentence, only does 12 years, is released, and then goes on and kills a bunch of people. I was sitting there reading about that yesterday and I was like, oh, I don't understand the judicial system. They can't be rehabilitated.
Yeah. Again, I am of the mindset of we don't put them down enough. If a
No.
dog bites a person, we don't go, maybe we can fix this. We go, and the dog is dead. Why is it different? The dog we can't understand and reason with. We as human beings can communicate and reason with each other, and we'll allow other opportunities, and there's not a language communication barrier. We just do the whole, oh, maybe we can work through this, not, no, you're a sick fucker, what you did was wrong, but we'll let you out to do it again because we really like to report on the bad things. Go ahead, go ahead.
This case was, I can tell you, is definitely, it pulled at my heartstrings because I realize I have children of all ages, but I do have a 17-year-old and I do have a 6-year-old. And to sit here and watch him scoop up the little one and go running into the living room and barrel onto the couch and playing with him the other day while I was working on this case, I was just like, I could not imagine coming home and having to see.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to process that.
Well, that's where I understand the dad punching his own ticket because I can't imagine seeing that of not only your youngest child, but your spouse. And who do you have to turn to? Like, at least if you came home and found the boy, that you could work through that shit together and, you know, grow together. But
Mhm.
like all your people, your safety net, your world were, it just zap.
Well,
Zap.
and then to have family members going on record saying, yeah, they are racist.
Yeah, that
Like,
piece of shit. We don't invite him to the reunions no more.
I just, it helped fuel the fire, which again, I only have a certain level of sympathy because I feel like that's a disgusting way to be
It
at this
is,
point.
but I wouldn't wish the battered
This,
brains of a small child on your sofa as your
no, I
consequence.
wouldn't. I wouldn't, but I don't feel what I'm saying is I don't feel sympathy for him for the hate that he got in response to
Yeah. It
his
just,
hate.
it's sad because he could have turned his life around. He could have opted to go a more educated route and learned that it's color skin deep.
Yeah. There's people of all colors that are pieces of shit, and there's people of all colors that are wonderful human beings. I don't think it's a race thing at all.
Content of character. I just hate pieces of garbage in general, no matter what you look like. I can blindly just
You
Shut
gonna
up,
finish that
Andrew.
one?
No, I'm not. I don't know where it's going with it. This is why I stick to reading my notes.
I know you
So this
deviate
isn't
from
my
them notes and
case.
you
So
end up with raising an eyeball.
raising an eyeball,
Loose
Bonnie and
Tootsie Rolls.
Louise, loose Tootsie Rolls, all your glory, but yet clothed and at your workplace. I don't know. Shit don't make no sense.
Yep.
I blame us watching Whose Line It Is Anyway growing up because I didn't realize they were trying to be funny where I was not. And don't forget to be nice to your loved ones. That means no hitting or murdering.
Or stabbings.
Andrea,
Claire.
that falls under hitting.
Does it?
Hitting
I don't
with
feel
a
like
blade.
No, I don't feel like
murdering,
stabbing and
They
hitting.
didn't hit with a
No.
blade.
I would much rather, if I had to choose between being stabbed or hit, I would take hit over stabbed any day of the week. That is not one and the same.
I'm gonna I'm gonna take a note from your book and go, I choose D, none of the above.
It'd be C. Let's learn to do our ABCs.
You were gonna pick out another one anyway. I was just picking something that was not
I was
an option.
not. I was not.
Yeah.
There were two options, hitting and stabbing. You said they're the
No,
same thing.
I gave
What?
2 options and then you said to pick. So that would be 3. I said no
What?
stabbing. I said no hitting or killing, and you said or stabbing. Those are your 3. I said
No,
D, none of the
no,
above.
because you said hitting and stabbing are the same thing.
Right, but I said no hitting or murdering your loved ones, and you said or stabbing. Thus, this conversation started, and I said,
you said
none
that
of
they're
the
the same.
above.
No, not at all. No, ma'am. You said hitting and stabbing are the same thing, and thus this conversation ensues.
So
because they are not the same thing.
I gave it to you as a 3rd option then, and then I said D, none of the above for the would you rather.
And on this note, go buy some chocolates or some flowers or a card or just in general acknowledge that it is Valentine's Day.
Or just take your Xanax and be nice.
What day is Valentine's Day? I know it's the
14th.
14th, but what day does it fall on?
Let me break out my schmalculator.
Might be more helpful if you break out a calendar.
Tuesday, some bitch. Tuesday. It falls on a Tuesday.
So we'll release this episode on the Thursday before. That gives y'all Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. That gives you guys a whole weekend to get your shenanigans together.
We need to redo that then, because then if we re-record or we release it on the 9th, it's not the week of Valentine's Day.
I ain't re-recording nothing. It's the week before.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Just
the weekend before.
The weekend.
Which, by the way,
whatever. But just re-say it because we said it was the week of Valentine's Day, and technically, I don't think you can release something the Thursday before Tuesday and say it's the week of, unless you're German.
Oh, what?
I don't know. It sounded like a good thing. I mean, just go with it. You loose Tootsie Roll. Starting to break a sweat. I don't know why.
All right. No, I'm not repeating it. Go buy your Valentine's Day stuff.
And be nice. Sounded like a rather hostile Valentine's Day.
Are we done?
Well, unless you want to make it a happier Valentine's Day one.
I sure do not.
Sounded rather aggressive.
I'm okay with it. I think it'll be funny. This is just going to give you here an update on that there Levi Norwood case. And turns out I don't got to say none of this because we're just going to snip it right in at the end of that there episode. I realize I just did this whole case and it's over and done with, but this case has not released yet. And I was just notified on an alert on my telephono, has just been sentenced yesterday. He was facing life plus 40 for murdering his mother and his brother.
So you could probably just throw it in there, update, and then whatever the date is, because they're not going to know what yesterday was.
I was about to say the date.
Oh.
So today is February 1st.
You don't need to be a dick about it.
Anyway, so Levi was facing life plus 40.
They gave him alcohol?
No, that's strictly saved for you when you're cleaning out that Frigidaire.
He got life plus a 40?
No, that's what he was facing.
Oh, well, how else
I'm
would
just
you drink
trying
it? Although I've heard about people doing like, never mind.
Okay. So I was just trying to give you a refresher because it's been a while since we done recorded that case, Claire. Although our fans have done listened to that whole episode just now, and we're giving them an update on his sentencing. So
January 1st. Oh,
yes,
February. February 1st.
Today's February 1st. And he just went to sentencing yesterday. They played the entire 70-minute rant that his little monologue that he did while he was in the North Carolina jail waiting to be brought up here. Like during his original trial when he pled guilty, realistically they didn't need any of that because he's pleading guilty, but during his sentencing they played it for the judge. He's claiming now during his sentencing that his dad was both emotionally and physically abusive to him.
Okay.
No.
And
yeah. Right. And in the recording that they played during the sentencing, he apparently said that he murdered his mom and his brother to try to punish his father, which doesn't even make sense because he tried to kill his dad too. So he's just a lying little turd trying to figure out how to get out of the shithole he dug for himself.
And you know what? Everybody who decides to grow up and be a douchebag with the claim of somebody abused me, okay, so why are you taking it out on innocent people who potentially, if that abuse was occurring, are also victims themselves?
And that is exactly what the prosecutor said, which is you just replaced your father. That's all you did because you turned around and brutally assaulted your brother and your mother. So even if, let's say, your dad was abusive to you, it doesn't give you the right to go murder somebody. So with that being said, he did receive life in prison plus 40. And what that means is he will be eligible for parole after 20 years on the life sentence. And then the plus 40, as we've discussed in other cases, you only have to serve 30% of that, and 30% of 40 years is 12. So after 32 years, he will be eligible for parole.
Still too soon. Again, they argue that whole, but they won't get parole the first go round. So even if he got paroled at 30, what kind of individual do they think that they'd be releasing?
And that's what the prosecutor said, was that they felt that Levi was not only a danger to himself, but to others. And that he was asked if he had anything to say during his or before his sentencing. And he said no. So there's not even an iota of, I'm sorry for what I did. I wish I could take it back. Like there's nothing. Just my daddy used to beat me, which that can't even be proven. I realize it's hard to prove, but.
Well, what could he say?
He could say that he's sorry for what he did.
Stupid. I'm sorry. I done killed them with a hammer. Little bitch. Hope he gets the hammer tonight.
I don't know. Before you ask, I don't know which parent this is. But after the sentencing, Levi's grandmother yelled out, "I love you, Levi," as the sheriffs escorted him back to where all the bad people go.
They call that prison.
Well, it's technically not because it's
a holding
in the courthouse.
Cell, man.
There you go. There's them words that my brain just couldn't find because my brain hole
done leaked out.
Sure did. I couldn't even finish that there sentence.
It's cracked.
But anyway, so that's the update on.
That's going to be an interesting update to snip in. And live from Holding Cell, it's Claire and Andrea. We can't figure out if we're in January or February. Luck with this update.
Excuse me. I know what month I'm in. It's you that needs a calendar to book to your workplace. Would you show
It's
up a month late to
real.
work?
I didn't say what year.
So then wouldn't you technically be a
Fuck
year
you,
and a
Andrew.
month?
Yeah. Thank you for listening to Homicide Hobbies. I'm Claire.
I'm Andy.
Follow us each week to get your fix of the atrocities that occur in true crime. And don't forget to tell people about us and rate us if you like us. But don't rate us if you didn't. Just change the channel.